Hi, I'm astrologer and life coach Penny Dix. Welcome to tonight's in-depth look at the forthcoming full pink moon in Libra. And that's on the 16th of April. As I record this, we're a few days before. But you know, this is an interesting, well, I always say that, don't I? They're all interesting full moons. But this is Libra. Libra is about balance, fairness, harmony. My God, don't we need some of that? Balance, fairness, and harmony. The title I gave this particular full moon is Revelations Bring Truth. So let's see what I mean by this. I feel we could see some breakthroughs and tough talk. Potentially a pause in any fighting that's going on, whether that's on the world stage or on a personal level. Because I think people are trying to find resolutions and a more transformative way forward. But let's just have a look at the astrological energies and what they're telling us, because the sun in Aries, which of course is the sign opposite Libra, so whenever the sun is in the opposite sign to the moon, we get a full moon. When the sun and the moon are in the same sign, we get a new moon. And, you know, these little things about the astronomy, if you like, are actually quite good to know, you know, to understand the kind of mechanism, the science, if you like, behind the lunar calendar. But the sun in Aries is conjunct, and I've talked about this planet before. It's a dwarf planet called Aries. And it's interesting because I remember when I was a little girl and I had a wonderful book that my parents must have bought me all about the solar system. And it just had all the planets named out as far as Pluto. And so after that, there were no more planets. That was it. And I mean, this is back, well, quite a few years, because I'm quite a few years older now. But the thing is, there are actually a lot more planets in our solar system spinning round our sun. And Aries is one of them. We have this belt of planets called the Kuiper belt. And it's kind of, Pluto is kind of on the edge of that, and then further out we get planets like Eris, Sedna, that's another one. Can't think of any more at the moment, but there are a lot of these smaller, what we call dwarf planets. But Eris is interesting because Eris, she in Greek mythology was the goddess of strife and discord. And I think that the presence of Eris in opposition to this full moon is telling us that people in general have had enough of wars and fighting, whether that's on the international world stage or whether it's closer to home in our own personal relationships. And there is the potential with this energy around this full moon, like starting now when I record this on the 13th and beyond really until the end of April, for people to start taking to the streets. And we may see this throughout Europe, where people are saying enough. You know, it feels like it's back to the 60s and, you know, make love, not war, and peace. And we have to give peace a chance. And it's very challenging with the energies we've got. But the Libra full moon is bringing this energy of freedom, harmony, balance. Libra is, however, a very strong and determined sign. And I wonder whether, let's think about what's going on in Ukraine and Eastern Europe. I just wonder whether one of our world leaders will step up to try and be a mediator between President Putin and President Zelensky and NATO and the EU, because we're all part of this. None of us can escape it. And this full moon just gives me the sense that we may see someone step up and say, someone has got to do something. Someone has got to get these two sides talking. So it will be interesting to see what kind of comes out of that, because there's certainly a need, I think, for compromise and balance and for the truth to come out. And I do feel this is a full moon of truth. But it's also possible with this Libran energy that if we do get some kind of mediator, you might find this in personal relationships. If you've got two warring partners or a situation where you're up against each other, sometimes it takes a third to come in and just soothe troubled waters, get you both talking, to act as a mediator. This is what we need, because this is actually quite an optimistic full moon. There is so much light in the astrological energies at the moment that it would be such a shame to miss out on what we have got at the moment, which is this beautiful Jupiter-Neptune energy. We just talk about that for a minute. These two big boys out there in the solar system. Jupiter, our planet of luck, opportunity, expansion. Neptune, our big boy who's in charge of vision, dreams, intuition. There is a dark side to both these planets, but I'm not going to dwell on that at the moment, because I think the more energy we give to the light, it is for the better. But Jupiter and Neptune are conjunct in Pisces. They were absolutely exact yesterday. So that was the 12th of April. So everybody out there, look, what was happening to you in the few days leading up to yesterday and for these few days just beyond? Because this is super cool energy. This is inspirational energy. This is energy that can help you manifest and transform your own lives into something very meaningful. This is highly charged spiritual energy as well. And what we do have to be careful of when we have this high charged Piscean energy is that we don't allow ourselves to get ungrounded. We need to keep 2 feet firmly rooted on the earth. And, you know, we have planets like Uranus in Taurus, Taurus being an earth sign. Uranus is our planet of the unexpected, of disruption, of shocks, can be quite explosive energy. Uranus at the moment is conjunct Mercury, our planet of communication, whilst this full moon is in sort of theatre, shall we say. And Uranus conjunct Mercury could see startling news hitting the headlines. I think in some parts of the world we're already seeing this. Certainly in the UK, the whole Partygate debacle is hitting the headlines. And, you know, my personal views don't really matter, but, you know, we're all entitled to our own views. But I do, on some kind of higher level, think we need to just move on. There are more important, very important things going on in the world that we need to pay attention to and not get distracted by this kind of mundane. they shouldn't have done that and it's not right and blah, blah, blah. So you can probably get my general gist of that. But let's just move on, because so I think that because Uranus is conjunct Mercury, there's going to be a lot of talk about the economy and how it's being affected by the events that are unfolding, not just in Europe, but in the world in general. Because, you know, the pandemic has certainly left its scars, and it's going to take a while for lots of countries to climb back, claw their way back to where they were in, let's say, 2018, 2019. And we have to remember that with this Jupiter-Neptune energy, it can also expand the negative, because Jupiter is an expansive planet. So I just want you to be careful on a personal level, because there are a lot of people who are very concerned about their personal financial situation with rising energy prices. And I think it's so important to remember that we have to stay grounded in this. Because if you get caught into the negative of the paranoia of there won't be enough, how will I survive? That panic, that anxiety almost attracts in what you don't want. So with that kind of energy, remember to sort of ground yourself. And, you know, there's a wonderful thing to do with anxiety, because Neptune and Jupiter conjunct can bring up anxiety. But there's a wonderful thing to do, which is just look for 5 things around you that are kind of solid and name them and say, you know, like light, because I've got a light up here, table, camera, picture, you know, glass of water. Because these things bring us into the present, and they're so important for grounding us. So how is it going to affect us personally? Because I think, you know, we all get so overwhelmed by everything that's happening on the world stage. Well, this is a super moon for relationships, for constructive discussions in important relationships. And you know what? Unexpected breakthroughs can occur with this energy. So if you've been struggling with a particular relationship, whether that's business, personal, this full moon energy is a perfect time to sit down and just put your cards on the table. Search for resolution. Compromise. Libra does compromise. Libra can be quite harsh, quite hard. There's a stubbornness to Libra, but they do like to find the balance. And I do feel that relationships that have gone past their shelf life will end, as both of you will see that there's only one way forward. And that may be to disagree or agree to disagree and let each other go. Because that which is not meant for us, that which we continue to hold on to, merely prevents what is meant for us arriving. So this is a full moon of freedom, of fairness, truth. These are uncompromisable values. So let's move on to your individual zodiac signs to see how this full moon is going to affect each of the zodiac signs. And remember, if you do know what your ascendant is, that's also known as the rising sign, check that one out too. Also, I just want to say again at this point, and I have said this on some of my videos or most of my videos on YouTube. If you don't know what your ascendant or rising sign is, which would really give you a much richer experience of astrology, then just drop me a direct message. And if you give me your date of birth, time of birth and place of birth, I can work it out in a nanosecond. Well, I can't, the computer does that for me, but I'm not that clever. But that's basically what I can do. And then it will just enrich your whole experience of astrology. And that's all free. However, if you wanted a longer session with me to look at all the energies in your personal birth chart and what's happening for you in the next year, then you can book a one-to-one with me, and my website is in the description box. So let's move on to Aries. Aries, well, this full moon, of course, is in the sign opposite to you, Libra, which is the part of your chart that is to do with close, significant, personal relationships. So, bearing in mind what I've been saying so far, what for you has gone past its shelf life? Or is there a way of behaving? Is there a way that a relationship is set up that needs to change? Because it's not necessarily about a dramatic ending. Because, you know, if we had that all the time, we'd be changing partners every month. So it's not about that. But is there some way or some part of your close relationship or relationships that needs to change? There's some wonderful, helpful energy from Saturn, our big boy Saturn, our planet of boundaries, of teaching, of rules. And this planet Saturn is really making a lovely, helpful angle to the full moon. So it's saying you can have what you want, but it takes time. Anything that is worth having will always take time. And Saturn tells us that it's often, you know, you have to kind of, it is hard work sometimes. But, you know, nothing of value comes without really working for it and valuing it. We've also got very helpful energy from Mars, our planet of action and energy and sexuality, that is also making a very nice aspect, a helpful aspect to this full moon. So sometimes perhaps you have to, Aries, soften the way you communicate. Find just a gentler way, a gentle touch on how you communicate. But there is also, we've got to look at the Uranus conjunct Mercury in Taurus in your house of finance, because there is a lot of energy around your financial situation. There could be some dialogue or communication that has to take place with regard to finance. And that doesn't have to be bad, but it's a conversation that has to be had. And you may be the one that is actually giving a kind of a wake-up call to someone about maybe something they owe you, for example. And this Jupiter-Neptune energy in Pisces is really telling you to trust your intuition. It's not always something that you tune into, Aries, but this full moon is really encouraging you to do that. So let's move on to Taurus. So, hold on. So what happened to all of that? So, okay, all my notes have disappeared. Thank you, Apple iPad. Well, Taurus, this full moon is in your, now I've got to work backwards, so it's in Libra, so it's in your 6th house. So for you, this is about, it's very much about your day-to-day working routine. You need to get more balance. I think you've been quite stressed, Taurus. I think you're really working hard. And I think this Uranus energy in that part of your chart is really kind of bringing you down. And it just feels that with this full moon in Libra, in this part of your chart, you really need to look at how you can, how you can just get better balance. If something isn't working in your working life, Taurus, let it go. Or perhaps you've got to just change the whole way you approach your work. That's another possibility. So because all my notes have disappeared, I've now resorted to the chart, and I will endeavour to work this out and get this right. So bear with me. So we now move on to Gemini. So Gemini, for you, this full moon is in your house of creativity. Where do you need to find a way to communicate more creatively? You know, Gemini, you're a good communicator. You're good at thinking. So I think there are new ways that you can start to communicate in ways that would be much more appealing to people and create fun. And this Mercury conjunct Uranus, what conversations are you having with yourself? Because I think that there's a sense that you need to, that your self-talk needs to be a little bit less critical and more balanced. Because I think you might be giving yourself a hard time and beating yourself up unnecessarily. Stop it, Gemini. Right, Cancer. So this is about changes at home and in the family. It may be that actually there is more harmony that is available to come into the home environment. If it has been quite tricky, if it's been quite challenging, then this Libra energy can bring some balance into that. And this Uranus-Mercury conjunction in the part of your chart that is to do with your hopes and wishes, and dreams. I think ideas come to you unexpectedly, Cancer. I really feel there's something about this full moon that it's like you need to put it down on paper. Write down your thoughts, Gemini. You are good with words. You are good with communicating. Use that talent. So Cancer, for you, this is very much, I was just talking about Cancer, wasn't I? You see, because I've lost my notes, I don't know where I am. So I think we've done Gemini. I think we'll do Cancer. Cancer! Oh dear. So Cancer. This is about somebody at home who is moving on. So it may be you have still got children living at home and they are moving on, they are moving away. It can also be that you're looking at making big changes within the home. And I do think there are some ideas that you need to be focusing on that will really be very creative for you. So pay attention to your dreams, Cancer. You know, that Jupiter-Neptune energy in your 9th house of real sort of higher learning, knowledge, connecting with the cosmos is helping you kind of find ways into new realms that you've never found before. Leo. So for you, Leo, this is in the part of your chart to do specifically with communication. And I think you want to change the way you communicate. I think sometimes, Leo, you get carried away with your delivery and performance, because you are a bit of a kind of a star. You know, you do like to kind of put it out there and be centre stage. You get carried away with your delivery rather than actually paying attention to the content that needs to be delivered. This full moon is telling you to actually just tweak the way you can do that. Thank you. Somebody has just put a message up saying, I think you're doing excellent without your notes. Thank you so much, because it's really quite hard. But anyway, onward and upward. So Leo, and Leo, there's going to be an unexpected communication to do with your work. That's the Uranus-Mercury conjunction in Taurus in the house of career for you. That's really going to ramp things up. There's going to be, I think it could be some quite interesting, shocking, surprising information that comes your way. Virgo. So Virgo, for you, this full moon is in the part of your chart to do with your finances. Well, that can't be bad, can it? And I think this is telling us that you are going to, you know, it's actually, if there's something that has needed to be changed or closed, it will actually serve you well. It will take away some of the anxiety for you. It may be something that you've been committed to, but that is not really serving you well anymore, Virgo. So that it's actually time to let that go. And the Uranus-Mercury conjunction for you is in the part of your chart to do with matters at a distance. And this can be also to do with learning and studying. It's also about truth. You know, I feel you're going to have quite a breakthrough in your understanding about something that you're studying. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate the comments. I don't normally comment on the comments that come up, because when this is on YouTube, this is actually a live stream on Facebook, so I'm getting comments coming up. But thank you, Sue. I really appreciate because where was I? Yes, I'm talking about Virgo. Virgo, yeah, I do think you're going to have a breakthrough with something to do with something you're very passionate about. This could be something you're studying or learning, something you have found it so difficult to get your head round. But this energy is going to help you make that breakthrough. Now we come on to Libra, because of course Libra, this is your full moon. This is all about you. So how is it affecting you? Well, I think in some ways there are some conversations that need to be had with close relationships or a particular significant other. And there's something about the need to change the whole format of a particular relationship. It might be quite heated discussion, but it will be fruitful. It really will actually move things forward. So don't give up on that. Scorpio. Scorpio. You're a very private person, Scorpio, and you keep a lot of what's going on in here quite hidden and deep. But this full moon is saying, stop being so hard on yourself. Start actually seeing how far you've come. Start beginning to see that you've actually been doing extraordinarily well. Because I think Scorpios, they do put themselves through the mill a bit. You set very high standards for yourself, Scorpio. And your sign, along with your opposite sign, Taurus, is very much in the spotlight for the next 18 months because the moon's nodes, where we get eclipses, have moved into these two signs. So, you know, you've got a pretty significant full moon. The next full moon I do in May, which is actually, I'll be doing the live on the 13th of May, but the actual full moon event is on the 16th, will be in your sign. And that's a very powerful full moon total lunar eclipse. Hugely powerful. It's a bit like spoiler alert, isn't it? Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. So tune in for that one. But the Scorpio, the Mercury-Uranus conjunction for you is in the part of your chart to do with close relationships. This is things that need to be said. I think you have had enough. I think you're like, I'm done. And you want things to change. And if they don't change, I think whatever it is, whoever it is who is standing in your way, will get their marching orders. It's that, or a significant change has to take place in attitudes. Sagittarius. Well, this is an interesting one for you, Sagittarius, because it's the Libra full moon for you is actually in the part of your chart to do with ideas you've got, dreams, projects. I think you're getting a much balanced or a much more balanced idea about what you want to focus all your attention on and ultimately launch. Because it brings in the energy of your 5th house, Aries, and it brings in this sense of, excuse me, it brings in this sense of excitement and energy. You've got some terrific ideas, Sagittarius, and this Libra harmony and balance can really help you achieve some of your dreams, Sagittarius. Capricorn. So Capricorn. Whew. How are you doing, Capricorn? You know, you've had such activity going on in your chart for the last couple of years or so, longer actually. And you're now just left with our big boy Pluto sitting in your sign, looking back at the degrees it's gone through and trying to inject a little bit more transformation into your whole character, persona and personality. And resistance is futile. But this full moon for you is actually about your work. So it's very much about getting a bit more work-life balance. That's what you have to actually try and work towards. Work-life balance. If you're able to do that, Capricorn, it's just going to make life so much easier for you. Because at the moment it feels a little bit as if you've been rushing around chasing your tail. And, you know, Capricorn, the goat, needs to get to the top of each mountain. And I think you're running up several mountains at the same time. Slow down. You know, Saturn is your ruling planet. It's making a good aspect to this full moon. Slow down and just deal with one mountain at a time. Aquarius, let's move on to you. Aquarius, so for you, this full moon is in the part of your chart that deals with truth, intuition, higher learning, with law, with education in general. Aquarius, you operate your divine energy on a very high frequency. You know, you are a very finely tuned, sensitive soul. But I think this Libra full moon is inviting you to get more balance into that, to actually find some grounding with all of that as well. Because there's a danger that sometimes, Aquarius, you get carried away. You're an air sign and you're fixed. So it's almost as if you get fixed up there in the clouds. So Libra is also, you know, it's a cardinal sign, but Libra is very much about thought and it's about balance. So bring some more harmony into your life. That Uranus-Taurus energy for you, sorry, the Uranus-Mercury energy in Taurus for you is at home. Aquarius, what changes need to happen at home? What isn't being discussed with family members that perhaps needs to be discussed? Because somebody may bring up the conversation before you do, and you won't like that because then it will feel like it's out of your control. So just think about that. And finally, we come on, last but not least, to Pisces, my lovely fishes. So Pisces, for you, this full moon is in the part of your chart to do with transformation. It's to do with beginnings, endings. And of course, the full moon can be about endings. It can also be, this part of the chart, to do with contracts, other people's money. It could be legacies, wills even. So what in your life really needs to go, really needs to change? Does it need to be legalized? Is there something, some document that needs to be notarized, or that you need to go to somebody legal to finalize something that needs to happen? You know, a separation or some sort of contract that talks about closure on some issue in your life. And the Taurus energy, the Mercury conjunct Uranus, is in the part of your chart to do with communication. Tough talk, Pisces. You need to have some tough talk with the people around you in your local community. because I want, you know, Pisces. I was recording the May astrology this afternoon. When I got to Pisces, I was talking about you being an ocean of emotion. And I thought, I rather like that term, an ocean of emotion. And sometimes, Pisces, you're all over the place and you don't say it how it is. I think you need to be a bit more boundaried and structured in what you have to say. Say it how it is. Otherwise, people don't know what you're going on about. And people need to know what you're going on about. So, on that note, I've gone a bit longer than I normally do with this video because my notes disappeared and I've had to wing it, as they say, but I think I got away with it. So I'm sure lots of people will tell me if I haven't. So I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me for this live full moon video via Gozo in the House, an amazing online digital magazine, which you really should check out if you haven't. It's direct live from the island of Gozo, the small sister island to Malta in the Mediterranean, for anyone that is watching further afield. And the next live full moon I do for Gozo in the House is the one in May, and I'll be live streaming that on May the 13th. And thank you, Barbara, that I appreciate that you have appreciated what I'm doing. And the other thing I want to say, because this will be up on YouTube, so if you haven't had time to watch this today or you've only caught a little bit of it, it will be on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Penny Dick's AstroCoach, from tomorrow. And whilst you're there, I'd love it if you could like, comment and subscribe. So in the meantime, I wish you well. I wish you a very interesting few days and few weeks with this Libran energy for the full moon. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.